What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of The Story of. And today, as you can see, it is a solo episode, which means I've been having a lot of requests for this. And I didn't ever really want to interview myself because the whole point of my podcast or YouTube channel, whatever you will, is to share the story of others. But I actually had a last minute cancellation today, so alas, we are here. And I'm actually going to be telling the story of Laquam, myself. I'm a little nervous actually. Now that I'm actually recording, I press play. Yeah. I'm a little nervous, but we're going to do it. So, the story of Laquam. So, who am I? I am a entrepreneur, I am a sister, I am a girlfriend, I am a really intelligent person. I would like to think of myself as really well-rounded. One of my earliest, a little more background, sorry, I'm just trying to dive into things. So I am from Connecticut. I was born and raised here. I grew up with a younger sister, and I'm just gonna kind of tell my story in the order of how I remember things, and that's kind of how I usually interview people, is by kind of starting at the very beginning through childhood, school years to current day. So let's get into it. So like I mentioned, I grew up in Connecticut to a beautiful woman who looks just like me, and her name was Natasha Easter. May God rest her soul. She is no longer here on earth with us, but her spirit lives on. I connect with her often. It's nice to kind of have a mom that's able to look over you in the way that she looks over me. I have a younger sister. We were 3 years apart. And I would say one of my earliest memories is walking to the store with my mom and pushing my sister in the carriage with us. And my mom was a single mom. My dad wasn't around. My sister's dad wasn't around. I don't know at what point they left, but there it was. And so one of my next earliest memories would be the last time I saw my mom. And to my memory, she didn't drive or have, I don't know if she knew how to drive, probably did, but she didn't have a car from my memory. And I would just like to say, I may throw in to my memory here and there, because as I've learned, traumatized people, sometimes, not that their memory's wrong ever, but sometimes it can be a little foggy with some things. So in case anyone that knows the story better than I do, which would be my family or something, sees this and they're no, that's not what happened, listen, this is my memory, okay? So the last time I saw her, she was gonna go walk to the corner store, and she's just okay, I'll be right back. And she just never came back. I don't know exactly if that's what happened, but what I remember being told back then was she got in a bus accident, a city bus accident, and she couldn't really afford her medical expenses and afford raising my sister and I, so she had to move to Florida, where my grandpa, her father, used to live. And obviously there's probably some pieces in there that I forgot about. I was super young. The last time I lived with my mom or saw her, whatever, was 4 years old. So it was a really long time ago. I'm 27 now. So of course there was probably some pieces in there that I forgot, some steps. It wasn't just oh, she left to the store, never came back. It's probably not exactly how it went, but that's what I recall. And it was sad. So then after that, from living with her and then not. Again, I don't remember every single, part of the in between, but then I do remember living in this place. It's here in Hartford. It's called not the children's place. That's the store. It's like at the tip of my tongue. If it comes to me, I'll say it later. But there's this place in Hartford that while you're awaiting to be adopted, you live there. And at the time, they had the children separated in houses by age. So my sister, because I was 4, she was only like 1 or so. She was in like another house, like separate from me. And we were waiting for our biological aunt, which was my mom's sister, to adopt us. That took about a year. My aunt had to have, and my uncle, they're married. They've been married for like as long as I've been alive, pretty much. And I love him like a father. He is like my father figure. He is my father figure, not like. They together like helped to get what they needed to do. Like we had to have like learn. No, you probably don't know, but like certain like specific things you have to have before you can adopt someone. I don't know if it's I don't know what the criteria is for like all of it, but for them we had to have like our own dressers, our own beds, our own room, obviously. And like probably a whole bunch of other stuff. So it took them about a year, and then I do remember leaving that place. And to my memory, again, I don't know if this is like fully accurate, but it was rainy. It was like 5-6 p.m., but it was dark out because it was like fall, winter time, so it gets dark early. And it was raining, and I was just like looking out the window like at the place as we're like driving away from it. I'm just like, wow, like I never want to come here again. It wasn't like a terrible place. Like I don't really remember much from it, honestly. I just remember being separate from my sister. And I remember being terrified of scary movies for the rest of my life because I don't know what age group I don't know what age group of kids were in the house that I was in, but one of them wanted us to watch the movie Chucky. Terrified me for life. Like I'm just like at this big age, probably like last year, just getting over like my fear of scary movies and stuff. So that was a doozy. And that's not my only memory from that place. Then, let's see, what else? So yeah, I remember leaving there, and I had my 5th birthday party. My aunt threw it for me, and fun fact, so my aunt has 2 children, which they're my cousins, but I do call them my brother and sister because we were all like raised together, which is her son and her daughter. And we're all Aquarius. We all have birthdays. Her son's is in the end of January, and then her daughter and my birthday are the beginning of February, 2 days apart. So we would always kind of have like group birthday parties. Well, my youngest sister, who's my cousin, she was like later in life, but before she was born, like my other cousin and I, we would have our parties, like joint parties, and then it would be all 3 of us. So it was cool vibes. It was fun. Like, of course, living in Connecticut, we're in, I was going to say we're in the Northeast, but I don't want to be wrong, so I'm not going to do any geography. But it's cold where we live in the winters. It's cold in February. It's almost always snowing in February. So birthdays are always like, my aunt would just make them the best that she can, and they were honestly always great. Like I don't really have any complaints. Like even one year my birthday we had like a snowstorm, and like we were all like snowed into my house, and my aunt still made it. It was like a 3 or 4 day sleepover. But yeah, she always made it like great, so no complaints there. So anyways, back to 5 years old. So I'm living with my aunt, my cousins, all that good stuff. In Hartford, if you know of Hartford, there's like the North End and the South End. So I grew up in the North End, which is like predominantly like Black people, Caribbean people. And then the South End is like, generally speaking, everyone, like a Latina community. So yeah, I grew up on the North End. I moved to the South End when I was in like high school. And I'm kind of skipping, if you notice, from like 5 years old to like high school. And I'm gonna go back for some things. I'm just trying to, like, as I'm talking, I'm trying to filter what I'm saying. Because I don't want to say anything that's like too much or like might be incriminating. Definitely not to me, but to anyone else. So yeah, let's get back to the mom thing. So my mom's still alive at this time. She's living in Florida. To my knowledge, she was working at like a hotel or some sort of thing, and to my knowledge, all of my life until like 2 to 3 years ago. Let's just say that. So yeah, she's alive. She'll send me letters. She'll call me, and we would chit chat. Would write her letters back. So like, fun fact about me: handwritten letters are like very nostalgic to me. And like, even in general, I used to like write poetry. I don't want to say I used to be a poet, because if I really get in my bag, I could still write something really nice. But I used to actively like do poetry, and I won't say I rapped, but like low key, I was a wannabe rapper. But all in all, I like to like write, like handwrite stuff. And I hold it dear to my heart because my mom used to write me letters, and I would like keep them, and she would send me gifts. She would like do the best she can from far away. I never fully still understood, like I said earlier, to my understanding, it was just too expensive for what she was going through and to raise her 2 kids. And I actually didn't hold any grudge against her for it. Like, now that I'm saying this out loud, it sounds a little wild, but like, just wild for me to think that, if that's what it was, because I still don't fully know. But I never was upset about it, actually. I was like, I mean, yeah, even as a kid, I'm like, kids are expensive, like, I get it. So it was never like anything weird or like upsetting to me. Like, she always, to my memory, always was communicating. I felt her love, and I don't know, it's like a weird thing to say, but I feel like everything happens for a reason. I feel like God, like, one, has our story already written before we're even like born. Like, even our conception, like our parents conceiving us, God has planned all that, because it's also connected to our parents' life and their story, and from what I believe is already written too. So I feel like everything's already created and is going to be what it is going to be, and it happens for a reason, whether it's like good or not good. Everything can be perceived as whatever you want it to be perceived as. So I feel like it's not a good thing that my mom passed when I was young, but I feel like I'm like, God knows I'm one of those people who would be able to handle that. Like, he knows that like some people, I believe, physically need their mom here on earth. Not like you need her to be, you know, there washing your butt, but like, it's, I don't know, I feel like everyone's story is what it is, unique to them. I feel like I'm someone who, this is gonna sound so bad, but like, I hope some of y'all feel me. I'm someone who didn't like need my mom physically here on earth in order for me to feel her love and her guidance and her wisdom. Whereas other people's lives, the way that it's written for them, their mom is a part of their story. Maybe their mom's a part of their story forever. Maybe their mom is a part of their story until their 30s, 50s. But like, for me, my mom was a part of my story until I was 9 years old. And there was definitely times between 9 to now that I was just like, why did my mom have to leave? Like, why did it have to be me? Why did it have to be my mom? Like, why did it have to be that way where I only was physically with her for 4 years of my life and then never again? Like, why'd it have to be that? But then I think about someone like my sister, who she physically didn't have her mom after, or our mom, after 1, you know, and she could probably be thinking all the same things, like, why? So I say that to say, I don't try to like, I don't know, I don't try to like get too down in the dumps about it. But again, I was 9, I'm 27, so that's almost like 20 something years of mourning and grieving and feeling the emotions and like sitting with those emotions, because there's no one that can sit with you through that. And like I do feel like I kind of should have had grief counseling earlier in my life, like probably immediately or like within that year. I didn't have grief counseling until I seeked it, which was around 21, 22, which is still like mad long since the time of the event, you know, to actually get some help. Like, but yeah, I don't know, I feel like everything just is what it is. Like, it's not a bad thing that I lost my mom. It's not a good thing. It just is what it is. And all I have to do is like take that part of my story and continue living life. So, and literally it's not as easy as I'm making it sound. And like I was starting to say earlier, like no one can really sit with you through those feelings. It's just something you have to like work through. And even if you're not working through it, that's the wrong thing to say. It's something that you have to just sit with, honestly. Like, there's really no one, like even grief counseling, like it can be helpful to like help you process your feelings and like have a soundboard, but that therapist is not, like the therapist is there with you 1 out of 24 hours of the day per week, you know, or however often you do it. But it's like you're still the one who has to like deal with any dreams that you have, deal with any signs of anything that you get, or any reminders about your mom or lack thereof, or stuff like that. And then I also think about too, which is a thought that's crossed my mind a lot in life. I'm like, I wonder if it's better or worse that I lost her young and like didn't really know her that well or remember her that well, versus someone who's had their mom their whole life, like their whole adulthood, or even as a teenager, or someone who like was living with their mom, right, like every day, and then they lose their mom. It's just like like there's just so many other factors that can happen, and so many ways that the story can be told for different people. So that's why I try to not really like get too sad about it, and just not look at it as a bad thing. Look at it as like it is what it is, because there's so many ways that could go for so many different people. And yeah, I sometimes feel like it may have been harder to have lost her if we had a really strong connection, if I was living with her full time. Like there's just so many things to consider, you know. And I will say, like, losing her, and this is another reason why it could be looked at as like a quote unquote good thing, it kind of made me the woman I am today. Like, good, bad, and indifferent. Like, all the parts of me they are rooted in losing my mom. My independence, like the independent mindset I have, and that could also be being like the eldest sibling. But the way that I kind of look at life and like appreciate life, that is a big thing. That, I mean, a lot of things have made me be really appreciative of life, but that's one of them, because my mom passed away when she was 29. And I will say another thing that was a part of me that stems from her passing was, like, I had major anxiety of turning 30 as a young child. Like, so initially it started with, before she passed, I'm like, I kind of always wanted to be 30. I feel like that was such a great age. All the people that I saw on TV were 30 that I loved, and I'm like, wow, they're playing like a teenager, all this stuff. It was so cool. So I'm like, I want to be 30. And then when she passed away, not instantly, but eventually, I was just like, oh my god, what if I pass away at 29? What if I pass away at 30? What if I don't make it to 30? Like, the anxiety was like through the roof. So and then as I got older and started to like realize the reality of life, like death is real, because I will say at 9 years old, I didn't think it was fake, but there was a lot of, I'm going to talk about the funeral, but I'll get to that in a second. Yeah, I was like super anxious to turned 30. Just like, watching true crime shows and dating shows and people killing people and car accidents and health issues and all these things. I'm just like, oh my God, like, death is real. I might die before I'm 30, just like my mom. I don't know why I had this strong feeling, but I just did. And then one day, actually last year, I think it was last year, I was the sit down talk was with one of my best friends. Her name is Niger. I love her so much. We were having like a little powwow sit down in person, which doesn't happen often anymore because we live in different states, but I will get to that later. We were having a talk, and we weren't talking about my fear of dying, but it just kind of came up, and we both got emotional because she never knew that I had that fear, and for me to be able to express to her like how strong that fear was, and like now being 27, and I was 26 then, but I was just like, dude, like if I don't die by 30, I'm gonna give myself a panic attack or a heart attack. Like, that's how scared I am. And she just kind of, like advised me to just like really pray on it, like pray about it, talk about it to like a higher power, feel through it, and then really like also pray and talk about and feel through staying alive and being here and living a long, fruitful, healthy, beautiful life. And that's what I've been doing since, and it's totally, and like now in my heart I don't feel that fear. I actually feel the opposite. I actually feel like I'm gonna live for quite some time, and I'm gonna be able to live on a legacy that my mom wasn't able to fulfill, and just like do all the things. And then even if I'm not here for a long time and I am here for a good time, I'm gonna have fun. I'm gonna do things that I enjoy. I'm going to just really like not live in fear. And I advise anyone who may feel fearful of death for whatever reason it may be, like, to not live in fear, because every minute that you waste being afraid or feeling anxious or just not well is a minute used, and it's a moment spent, and it's not spent in an enjoyable way. And I do feel like our spirits live on. Like I mentioned, my mom, there are some very specific times that I felt her with me, like right next to me, and there's no other explanation for it besides like she was there. Like, because I also can absolutely positively feel once she's gone. So it's a beautiful thing when it does happen. Sometimes it's a little sad to like not feel her spirit leave, but like if you know, like to not just like feel her there anymore when I just did, but I also know like she needs rest, and that's ultimately why she's resting, like she can come visit me when she feels like, I really need her. And that's usually when I do feel her, and yeah, it's just a visit, So yeah, I feel like a lot of who I am and a lot of my mindset and what I believe in and things like that are rooted in losing my mom. So I wouldn't say it's like the worst thing in the world that's happened to me. I used to think that. Not anymore. Not anymore. Like, it's a-okay. So moving on. So that was 9 years old. After that, let's see, elementary school. I went to school in Hartford, and it was a public school. It was cool. Like, I didn't really have much complaints. I won't say I wasn't like a dork, but I was smart. But I wasn't super popular, but I wasn't not popular, or I didn't not have friends, or like people knew who I was. I just wasn't always like really mixy, and it's kind of stayed that way most of my life. I'm still that way. Like, I feel like I'm very like influential, and like, I have my business, which is Fresh Face. Follow me at Fresh Face CT, period. I have my business, I have now this podcast, and I'm just a chill vibe, you know? Like, I don't really like groups too much, so I don't like go out really much, if ever. I just like low-key stuff. I like to go out, but not like nightclubs, you know? I like to do activities. So I say that to say, in like elementary school is when I started cheerleading, and then I was a cheerleader from 8 years old until 18, through high school and everything. I did competitive cheer. I cheered for football, basketball, all fun. I loved it. It was one of the highlights of my life. I wish that I could have like went further with cheerleading. I mean, I could have. I just chose not to. So I wish I did choose otherwise, but again, like I said, everything happened for a reason, and I feel like it was a highlight of my life when it was. I was captain of my cheerleading team, which was nice, and oh my god, funny story. So I remember the day that I got voted captain, and somebody was big mad, and I hope she sees this podcast. I don't know why. It was just hilarious because, okay, like looking back on it, it was so dramatic. Like high school cheerleading captain, and she throws this whole fit. So boom, we're at practice, we're in the weight room, and our coach has us all like sit down on the floor in a circle, whatever, and we're gonna vote for captain, and vice captain or co-captain, whatever it's called. Shout out to Maricelis. Dang. Okay, so over my life, I met a few Latina women who have similar names. So there's Maricelis, someone else. I think it was Maricelis. Anyways, she was co-captain, I was captain. But yeah, we're voting, and we can't vote for ourselves. And like another fun fact about me, I like to play fair because low key, I always know I'm gonna win in life. Feel me? So I don't even have to cheat. I don't have to vote for myself. My best friend doesn't even have to vote for me. Like, I'm gonna win. So I didn't vote for myself. I still won. And this girl voted for herself. I saw her vote for herself. I didn't vote for myself. I think I actually voted for the co-captain to be captain. So yeah, we were like, the coach read like the winners or whatever, and everybody's like, she did the co-captain first. We all like clapped, hugged her, and then she said the captain. She's like, and captain goes to Laquam, and she wasn't feeling it. She got so pissed. She like got up, she stormed out, she was cussing everybody out like, how come y'all didn't vote for me? Da, 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 da. Like she was so mad. I was just still sitting on the floor, crisscross applesauce, like, the people have spoken. No, but at that time I was not that confident. I was a lot more humble. But I just was like, this is why though you didn't get captain. Like, you have a bad attitude. You're throwing a hissy fit. Like, it's not the end of the world, sis. Like, you're not voted off the team. So yeah, that was a funny time. Like, reflecting on it, it's just like, girl, this is a high school cheerleading. Like, and the high school that we were cheerleading for is no big dog. Like, we didn't win much, and it was just like, it's not a big deal. Like, our high schools here are not like the big ones in like big states like Texas and stuff like that. Like, it was, I mean, it's a pretty big school, bigger than the high school I actually went to. But anyway, child, so let's move on to let's see, we did like 9 years old, cheerleading. Well, let's just get into high school. So from elementary school through, well, yeah, until like 5th grade, actually, I was in the public, like Hartford public school system. Then in 6th grade, I won a lottery to go to this magnet school, a CREC magnet school. And that school, MLC, shout out to MLC in Bloomfield. It's actually renamed now a little. They like tweaked the name a little bit now. But I went there from 6th grade to 12th grade. So half my damn life. And it was interesting. So of course in the moment, like, no kid enjoys school. I mean, maybe some do, but like I didn't. Mainly because my school building didn't have service. The Wi-Fi was a little spotty. and it was out, way out in the middle of nowhere. So it's not even like you could really like leave for real, and like at least for Hartford kids, it wasn't a convenient place to be. So I wasn't really feeling it for those reasons. But I did get my first job in high school. I was 16. I worked at Subway, Eat Fresh, and it was okay. I think my favorite job, like, no shade, but like my favorite basic job was at Price Right. I was a cashier, and I was the fastest cashier, fastest and most organized, like, cart placer, item placer person, 2 months running, period. No, but seriously, yeah, I liked Price Right because I got to scan stuff. So guys, and if anyone is watching this and knows about like legitimate like signs of autism, can you comment and let me know? I will not take offense if you be like, yeah, you're showing some signs. Because sometimes I feel like I be showing some signs, and I don't know if it's accurate or not. I don't know how to test myself for it. I've like Googled the like autism spectrum test, but like there's so many, I don't know which is real. So if anyone does know, please do comment, share the link, let me know. But yeah, I've always like wanted a job where I could scan stuff, so Price Right was fun. I did leave it when I went to college, which I went to college in DC at Howard University. Okay, so let me tell the story of my college acceptance notice. So, honey, that was also a highlight of my life. I remember vividly. I wish like my life, and that's why I started the story up, because I've always wished that everybody's eyes had little cameras that can just record everything that happens in your life, and one day you can just watch it all back. So instead of that, I created this platform for people to tell it all, run it all back to us. Let us paint the picture with us, please. But the story of me getting accepted to college. So I applied for Howard University. I applied early acceptance, and that was the only school that was the only early acceptance school I applied for. I applied for some other ones, but I wanted to go there, and I wanted to go there for 2 reasons. The first one was because I actually went to an HBCU college tour, which is, HBCU stands for some people that aren't sure, Historically Black College and University. So I went on that tour in like 11th grade, I believe. There was a church here in Hartford that was hosting the tour, and shout out to y'all for that, because I don't know if they're still doing it or if anyone else does it, but one day I would like to like set that up like for other students. It's so like needed, like, and I honestly even met the owner of this beautiful space that I'm recording in, the collective space in Windsor, Connecticut. Shout out to them. I met her through that HBCU tour all those years ago. I was in 11th or 10th grade or so. So it's just great for connections. It's great to help people like figure out what school they wanted to go to. It's great for Black students in inner cities who may not get the chance to go visit all these states and visit all these schools with their family, to go do it with a church setting and like other, kids who are college bound. It's just all in all a great program and experience. And like, I knew it was fun at that time, but like now and being older, even just a little older, like that's necessary. We need that in the communities. Because literally I don't even think I knew what a HBCU was before that tour. And then my aunt, like, the one that raised me, she did great with me, as you can see. But she's the one who like signed me up for it, and I'm just like, okay. And I don't know if I went with a friend or not, but anywho. So yeah, I went to the tour. I loved the school. We saw a few, like I went to like Norfolk, Howard, Spelman, the other Morehouse. Did we go to Texas A&T? Like we went to a few schools, like quite a bit. It was probably like a week-long road trip, and Howard was my favorite. And then there was another reason that I went. There was a boy I had a crush on. Anyway, so I applied early for Howard, and I was in the cafeteria at my high school. And, you know, at that time, you got senioritis, even though it's like the beginning of the year pretty much. You just want to be done. I was split. I'm like, okay, I can get accepted to Howard. My grades are pretty decent. But then there's people like Taraji P. Henson. There's people like that, even that went to my high school, that were going there, that were so smart, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, am I gonna actually get accepted? And then early at that, I was at my table, I opened up my email, and I saw that I got accepted. Lord have mercy. I was so excited. I was so hype. I screamed to the top of my lungs. Everybody looked at me like, what is going on? Like, my friends at my table, we were all geeking. Like, I was so ecstatic. Like, that was really, truly a highlight of my life, because I'm just like, wow. Like, the first school I applied for, and also, I do remember, I don't remember my SAT scores, but I remember they weren't, like, stellar. So I was just like, oh my gosh, like, is this real? Like, is this real? I was so happy. I had to go. I didn't care how much it cost. I didn't care how much I needed. I didn't care about I didn't care about I was ready to go. So, yeah, I went there. I met my lifelong best friend, Aisha, that I mentioned. And it was a short-lived experience because it was very expensive, and I also didn't know. I had a work-study, I did a work-study program. I worked with the infamous Howard University Showtime band. It was a vibe. I wish that I actually had the balls to go out and audition to be not the Flag Girls, but the other ones. I can't remember their names right now, but be one of the dancers for the band. But I was just like a lot less confident than I am today, so I was just like, no, they're not gonna take me. But you know, I'll still work with the band. I'll carry their uniforms for them and their waters and whatnot. Also was working with the guy that I had a crush on. So I didn't realize that your work study money should be used to pay your financial aid. No one told me that. I thought this was like Subway again. I'm just working, getting money, and spending it as I will. I was mistaken, and I had to leave my school. But I got to keep my best friend. Shout out to her. And I moved on in life. So let's now get into after I left my dream college, I was crushed. I felt like such a loser. I felt so poor because I lived on a floor with amazing floor mates, but like, I mean, I don't know if they all had more money than me, but it sure as hell felt like it. Like, no one else had to leave. Like, everyone else's dorms were way nicer than mine. Everyone else had like way more extra. Like, I had what I needed. My aunt made sure, and my uncle made sure I had what I needed, but other people had like, and then some, you know? So in a way, I was a little happy to leave. No, I wasn't. There was nothing in my bones I wanted to leave. Like, but you know, it had to be done. I didn't have the little $500 that I had to pay. Okay, like, that's how much it was, guys. $500. That's how much I owe this school. $500. But whatever. So I had to leave, and I was crushed. But I like went to a community college here in town, and high-key that made me feel worse. No shade at all to people who go to community college, because now in my big age, I do understand, like, college is college. It doesn't matter, you know, if it's a university, a college, a online college. Like, you know, if you're getting the degree and you're saving money, that's the most important thing. But at the time, I was just all about like status a little more, and then going from Howard and that huge pretty campus and the city to coming back home with like people I just didn't want to be around. It was depressing. So then I eventually just completely quit college altogether. So I'm like, this is whack. Like, I don't even want to do this. I don't want to be here. I'm not doing well because I don't want to be here, so I'm just gonna move on. And I just started working. I had some interesting jobs. I was a security guard. I was a scribbler. I was a Lyft driver. I just kind of did whatever needed to be done. But yeah, so I quit school and just worked. I really just wanted to like make money, to like get my own place and like kind of start anew, which never really happened because I was like living without a purpose. Between the ages of 19 and 21, right? Yeah. Wow, which in the moment felt like 10 years, and that's only 3 years. But in that short time, I was a security guard by day and an exotic dancer by night. And I loved it, and I loved it so much that I quit being a security guard and just was a dancer. And that was a very interesting time. It had its ups and downs, and one day I will get into it, but not today. And then when I turned 21, I got into a car accident. I fell asleep driving. So I was still like missing Howard. I would go back often, and I had a car now. So once I got my car, it was over. I was out. Like, I was going to DC as often as possible, and it was perfect when my friends were still like going there, because I didn't even have to get a room. Just bring my car, stay with them, and then when we're out there, I have the whip, so like we could go anywhere. Like, it's way better than when I was going to school there, because when I was going to school there, we had to depend on the train, Ubers, no real money, and now it's like, guys, I'll bring the money, I'll bring the car. We're all a little older too, so it's like, what's up? Like, we had a lot of fun. And then there was one weekend that I went back to DC, and this is exactly what happened. It was a Friday to a Sunday. Friday, I worked 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. I might be capping. Maybe it was just 3 to 11. All I know is, as soon as I got out of work at 11, I drove to DC. We went out. And then the next day we went to like a party. Sunday, I'm like, okay, Sunday I'm not gonna party, I'm gonna just like leave early. Then there was a day party. You can't turn down the darty. So I went to the day party, and then I'm like, okay, now I'm gonna drive home. And I was young and dumb, just doing too much. And anyways, I actually didn't even plan to go straight home. I was gonna drive from DC after the day party and a weekend full of partying to my little yaya's house at the time, and like, you know, party and stay there or whatever. And just to my luck, I was like at the exit to my house, and I fell asleep. And okay, so boom, there's 2 lanes. I was in this lane. There was a like big tractor trailer truck in this lane. I guess when I was falling asleep, I was swerving this way, so he beat, and it woke me up, and I like, no, I think it was reverse. Damn. All I know is when he beeped, I like woke up. I drove this way. Yeah, it was that way, because he kept driving, and I was just like, he didn't even stop to see if I'm okay. He saw me hit the barrier, and then my car flew to the side and hit this barrier, and then it kind of like went back in like in between the shutdown lane and the actual right lane. And I just stopped there. And I was fine. Like, I hit my head on like this little rim of the window, but I was good, essentially. But my car was totaled. And ever since then, I don't drive sleepy. And I honestly don't do the most. Like, I can miss out on a party or two. And maybe that's what kind of made me be like, you know what, partying isn't really all that necessary. Like, I'm good. That was 21. I got a new car. I was a security guard again at that time, and I remember when I got my little red car, I low-key hated it because I'm like, oh, it's so loud, like everyone's gonna be looking at this car. And then eventually I've grown to like, I really miss it. I don't have her anymore, but I loved that car. But I remember when I first pulled up to my security job, I was working in this town called like Enfield, Ellington, one of them, and my like security officer, like coworkers or whatever, they were just like, oh my god, your car is so nice, it's like cherry apple red, da da da. I'm like, you know, they might be onto something. It is kind of cute, like it was cool. And that was a 2018 Hyundai Azera Limited red. Look it up. Dual sunroof, heated and cool seats, leather seats. It had this really nice blue interior light that went all around. Like, it was a very, very nice car. Very nice Hyundai. So anyway, shortly after that accident, I actually met my current boyfriend, Brian. And if you ever hear me mention his name, like, as a little side note in any episode, Brian is my boyfriend. And yeah, we met then, and we're still together now. And yeah, that kind of sums it up in a nice little nutshell. There's of course a whole bunch more that we could totally dive into at some point, but this episode is coming to a close. I thank you all for watching. Don't forget to follow the podcast at TSO Pod. Subscribe to our channel on YouTube. Like this video. Please leave a comment, even if it's just a little black heart. I'll take a little black heart. Tell people to watch this video or watch this whole channel. Like, you know, if you would like a interview opportunity, please DM us on Instagram at TSO Pod. And yeah, thanks guys for watching. See you next week.